What is going on, guys? Predator 458 here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to part 2 of my what to expect from the different classes of the ships in World of Warships. In part 1, maybe I'll remember to put a link somewhere on the screen which you can click now if you haven't seen it. I looked at the battleships, which I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards, because who doesn't want to be in a big bad motherfucker like a battleship? However, as I said in that video, they're not invincible. They do have their weaknesses, and one of their weaknesses is cruisers. Although it's not the primary weakness, the primary counterclass for battleship, if you will. But today we are going to have a closer look at the cruiser class, which is what you will start off with at Tier 1. Let's go to the tech tree quickly. As you can see, Tier 1, America, you start with the Erie little cruiser. Japan, you start with the Katori. And from Tier 2, you can then go down the destroyer line, which we'll look at in the next video, probably in combination with aircraft carriers, because I haven't played these two classes as much as I should have. And then once you're at Tier 2, then Tier 3, you can go down the battleships if you want. But if your battleship is your heavy tank, if you will, this is more of your medium tank, your jack of all trades, kind of master of none. You're a lot smaller, a lot more maneuverable than a battleship. Your armor is much thinner, your guns are much smaller, but you do have a much higher rate of fire, and that is the key to success, of the cruiser line. Your primary mission in a cruiser, I would say, is to get rid of enemy destroyers if you can. Your high rate of fire on your weapons is one of the things that destroyer captains hate, because you're one of the only ships that can put down a constant stream of fire in their direction, saturate the area with high explosive. No matter how much they dodge, you're pretty much going to have more shells ready to go soon. So that's one of your jobs. The other job, I would say, is to probably support your battleships, specifically from Tier 6 and above, things like the Cleveland. This is where you start getting your anti-aircraft gun defensive perk, and what it does is when you activate it, it increases the fire of your anti-aircraft guns and increases the damage you can do. So you can not only shoot down more enemy aircraft, but it also, while this perk is activated, excuse me, got a little tongue twisted there, but while this perk is activated, I think the term they use is it rattles the enemy pilots and causes, like for example, the torpedo bombers, when they do drop their torpedoes, instead of being a normal tight spread, there's a much wider spread to the torpedoes, easier to dodge them. And the same goes for dive bombers. They'll be a lot less accurate with their bomb drops, and it's very possible that they'll miss everything. But yeah, so these are very good ships. Just because they're not as big and as deadly in some ways as a battleship doesn't mean they're any less useful. And this is, although I played battleships more, I think I had more fun generally in cruisers. Because battleships, you got a long 30-second reload time. If you miss, you kind of just got to sit there. Your shots really have to count, and a lot of them, as I said in that video, are quite slow. Now, as for the differences between the Japanese and American cruiser line, up to Tier 5, there are a lot of similarities between them. They both got fairly quick guns in terms of the turret traverse and fire rate, similar caliber. The one difference is at Tier 5, the Japanese cruiser there, the Furutaka, I think it's called. Let's actually go and have a quick look at it. Japan, Furutaka. At Tier 5, you're getting 203mm guns or 8-inch guns. The Americans only get these guns at Tier 7 with the Pensacola. Even the Tier 6 Cleveland, which I was just showing you, that has 6-inch guns instead of 8. However, obviously the bigger caliber of gun means it's a longer reload, but the big thing that I didn't like about this, and it's probably one of the reasons why I didn't play it too much, is if you have a look at the 180-degree turn time of its turrets, it's 45 seconds. That is battleship time. Okay, so these turrets turn like a freaking battleship gun, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And if you go to the likes of the Cleveland, with the standard guns, its turn rate is 22.5 seconds. So that's where some of the differences come in with the Japanese and American cruisers. Some from Tier 5 onwards, at least until tier 7. The Japanese have bigger guns but slower turning turrets, and I think it's probably the same afterwards. Let's go and have a look at something I didn't get. Here's the Pensacola, and her turn time is 30 seconds once upgraded compared to, that's tier 7, Miyoko, her turn time is 45 seconds. So the Americans, in the respect of their turret traverse rate, have better guns, but I mean, from tier 7 upwards, the caliber is the same, 203mm guns. The big difference, though, from tier 5. Tier 5 is the last tier that American cruisers get torpedoes. From the Cleveland at tier 6 and up, American cruisers no longer have torpedoes, whereas the Japanese cruisers keep them all the way to the end. However, they are sometimes a bit difficult to use because this is where they are located in here in the back of the ship. So they got, their firing arc is pretty much, they can't really fire forward, it's more firing behind them, which does limit their effective use a little bit. But honestly, do not underestimate cruisers, because to me, the most deadly ship in the game is not the Montana, it's not the Yamato, it's the Des Moines. I never had as much trouble with the tier 10 Japanese cruiser, the Zhao, but the Des Moines is an absolute freaking monster. You've got, again, the 203mm guns, firing range of 15.8 kilometers, but I think that can be increased. However, what sets the Des Moines apart from anything else is that these guns are auto-loading, which means it can fire 10 salvos a minute. Reload rate of 6 seconds on these guns, which is like half of other cruisers. So its DPM is absolutely ridiculous. And if you're a smart cruiser captain, what you're going to do, for example, if you're in a Des Moines and you're going against a Montana or a Yamato, your range, maximum range is what, 15.8 kilometers? You're going to stay at about 15 kilometers away from them, and you're just going to fire at them and fire at them and fire at them. And this works for other cruisers. You don't need the Des Moines rate of fire to do it. But you're going to just keep firing at them, possibly with a lot of high explosive to keep setting them on fire, some armor piercing once they are burning, but you're just going to keep doing that. When they fire their main guns at you every 30 seconds, having 15 kilometers range is enough time for you to take evasive action and miss most, if not all, of the incoming shells, while the battleship's maneuverability is not going to allow them to to evade your incoming fire. So that's one of the things that cruisers really have, that's in their favor. When 0.4.0 comes out, maybe they will make some changes to the fire damage, because I do honestly think it is a little bit overpowered at the moment, especially when you're in a Montana and you can't do anything against the likes of a Des Moines because you can't hit him and he just keeps hitting you. So we'll have to see how that works out. But as it stands right now, cruisers are a serious threat to a battleship if they play smart. If you're in a cruiser, don't try and get close. Don't close into 10 kilometers, because at a range like that, you will not have enough time to move out of the way. And plenty of times I've been in a battleship and these cruisers have gotten too close, and I've just gone, oh well, thank you very much, they've given me a broadside and I've got a citadel or 2 citadels on them, and they're finished. One other thing to remember with cruisers is this is one of the few ships, I would say, where ammo choice is very, very important. Battleships, I pretty much fire armor piercing all the time, unless I'm firing at an aircraft carrier, then I'll fire high explosive. But as a battleship, you should hopefully never be in the situation where you have to try and deal with the destroyer with your main guns, because they turn so slowly, they reload so slowly. So if you're in that situation, switching to high explosive is probably not even going to save you, because you probably won't be able to hit him. But in cruisers, this is where it's very important, because when you're firing at destroyers, you want to go destroyers and aircraft carriers, high explosive all the time. And because of their quick reload rate, it's no problem to switch between the shells. When you're firing at battleships, at your maximum range, I would say start shooting high explosive first. Set them on fire. When they put the fire out, continue to fire high explosive and try and set them on fire, because I think you can stack up to 3 fires in this game. If you can get 3 fires burning, awesome. You're going to bleed his health really quickly. But once he's repaired, he's got to wait a minute and a half to put the fire out again. So get him on fire again, and then switch to armor piercing and maybe alternate between the two of them. Because when you're firing at your maximum range, you're doing what's known as plunging fire, where the shells are going to come down at a steep angle onto the deck, and the deck armor is much thinner than the belt armor on a battleship. If you get close to a battleship, high explosive, because your armor piercing will not penetrate its belt armor. And when firing high explosive, don't aim at the hull of the ship, try and aim at the superstructure and shoot there. And then firing at other cruisers, I say it's very similar to battleships. A mixture of high explosive and armor piercing. Your armor piercing will be able to penetrate the actual hull armor, and you can get citadel hits for big damage. So I'd say again, alternate between high explosive and armor piercing. Knock out gun turrets, set them on fire, then fire armor piercing and get the big damage from like citadel hits if you can get them. But anyways, I think that is everything for cruisers. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, I am very sorry. If there's anything else you'd like to know that I maybe didn't cover, please feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But yeah, that is it for the video on the cruiser class. As I said, this is one of the classes I really enjoyed playing myself, although I did spend more time in battleships. I still probably had just as much, if not a little bit more fun in the cruisers. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me welcome you to open beta, which will be starting sometime soon after this video goes live. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the ocean, and look forward to shooting you in the face and hopefully not being shot too much. Don't do that. I'm a nice guy. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below, and maybe consider subscribing for more World of Warships content, as well as War Thunder and a few other things that I feel like throwing in. I really do appreciate every comment, like, and subscriber I get. It's really helpful to me, and it gives me a very nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside, so please feel free to go ahead and do that. And take comfort in the fact that you are making someone on the other side of the world from you feel happy inside. But anyways, that is it from me for today's video. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I'll see you guys next time.